It is time for the 2025 MLB season. We're going to go over the off season. We're going to go over the 2025 Opening Day Phillies. So you can see to start here, we are projected to win the National League Robinson Division with 110 wins, 8 games better than the Padres. Dodgers and Braves predicted to be the next, the 4 playoff teams from the NL. 977 runs, which appears to me to be top in the NL. 692 against with a 3.89 ERA. Only one other team appears to have an ERA below 4.21, and that's the Padres at 3.92. So yeah, best offense and best pitching in the NL predicted. Soto, Jung-Hoo Lee, and Cornelius Randolph all in the top hitters. Top pitchers, we have Nola, maybe a bounce back from there, and Justice Sheffield. Did not expect to see him there. In the AL, we've got the Angels, Royals, Rays, and Jays, but really tight here after the Angels. Looks like it could go to any number of teams. The Nationals are only predicted to win 77 games, and they had quite an offseason, man. Like, they went out, they signed Walker Buehler to a 7-year, $157 million deal. Was Tyone this offseason too, I think? Yeah, they signed Jameson Tyone to a 3-year, $21 million deal. They brought in a couple relievers. They brought in Alex Verdugo on a 4-year, $87 million deal. And Paul DeJong, I think, was this offseason. Yep, they brought in Paul DeJong on a 1-year deal. And they brought in Austin Meadows, too. Maybe he got hurt. Yeah, Meadows got hurt. Oh, there's Alec Boehm. He's out. Bummer for them. So Meadows is out for 4 weeks, but they signed him to a 5-year, $107 million deal. They just were throwing money everywhere. I guess that's Soto money, huh? So anyways, let's go to the Phillies. I'm going to start first with the transaction log and just show you the trades that I made in the offseason. I didn't make a lot of changes to the major league team, which I think I kind of said in the last episode. I didn't see a ton of changes coming, but I did make minor league trades, and this is something I would recommend that you do as you look through the trades I make. Find prospects that other teams overvalue, and find prospects that other teams that they undervalue. It takes some time. It's a little tedious. And you'll find teams that say, absolutely no way do we want this package for this prospect who's 50th overall. And then you'll go offer the same package to the team with the, 52nd best prospect in baseball. And they'll be like, yep, absolutely, we will do this. So take some time. Like I said, it's a little tedious, but it's worth it. And so the first move that I made was I traded 2 minor leaguers. This guy, Chinggong Shi, who is in Double-A now for the Rangers, and he looks fine. He looks like a fine player. And Albert Jerez, who really doesn't look like much of anything to me. We were able to get 2 pretty meaningful pieces to them because they really liked Shi. We got Chris McMahon, who's a 25-year-old pitcher who I think is just pitching depth for us, which is something that I needed with losing Clevenger. Last offseason I lost Sonny Gray. I lost Zach Wheeler. I just needed more depth because I have 2 rookies in my rotation, as you'll see, and I wanted more options. And this guy, I don't think he was ever a top 100. Oh, he was the number 71 prospect in baseball back in 2021 and then fell off. But so Chris McMahon, he spent last year, he's with Texas the whole year, threw 77 innings with a 3.72 ERA, but just a 5.16 FIP. But these 3 good pitches really intrigue me. He'll start the year in Triple-A. And then we also got Brett Degoss, who could be a starter, but I see him more as a reliever. And I needed some reinforcements in my bullpen. This is a guy who's been with Texas, had a great year as a starter actually in 2023, 2.2 WAR and 126 innings. Last year was in the bullpen and wasn't as good, FIP-wise especially. But so I think he's a good addition to the bullpen, and he's cheap, and he's still got 3 minor league options. So he was an all-star in 2023. I like him as an addition to the bullpen. And next we brought in, I needed left-handed relievers because basically like all the relievers who were free agents were lefties. And so I brought in Aaron Bummer, who the White Sox picked up 60% of his salary this year, and then we've got an option for next year at $7.5 million. But bringing a lefty with high movement was a priority. We gave up this guy, Dawson Brown, who I'm fine giving up. I think I drafted him recently, a 29th round pick. So Dawson Brown, Carlos Francisco, who I had acquired. Oh, he's a real-life Phillies draft pick, and I don't really see much of a future with. And 21-year-old minor leaguer Eldridge Armstrong, who, again, another guy. I mean, he's a two-way player, but I don't see him really having much of a future. 13th round pick in 2021. So we brought in Aaron Bummer for that price. So then we also traded Mickey Moniak to the Orioles. Moniak, he was just out of chances here. He's out of minor league options. He wasn't going to be on our team. So rather than lose him to waivers possibly in the offseason, we brought in this guy, shortstop Jaden Brown, who, you know, doesn't look like necessarily he's going to be a major league piece, but he was good in regular A last year and then was terrible in high A. Jaden Brown, and then the other piece we brought in was Michael Goldberg, who again looks like another guy who I actually already traded to the Marlins, so we'll get to that trade, and just looks like a minor league depth piece. And then we also got Will Bossinger, who doesn't really look like much, but he had a good season in A-ball, in low A, 2.2 WAR and 5 F-WAR with a 2.99 ERA. So that's that guy. And let's see, what did we do next? Then we traded just a minor league reliever who is minor league depth for us, who is out of options for, again, more just minor league depth. I don't see a bright future for this guy with us, but he's a good minor league player to have in the system. Let's see. Oh, this was a big one. So the Marlins really liked this guy, Jamal Flores, which, understandable. I can see it. OSA is even higher than my guy. Looks like a possible power outfield bat, but he's a corner outfielder. The computer, because he's not one of the prospects that I control, has kept him rookie ball 3 straight years, and he absolutely decimated rookie ball last year. I mean, he should be in at least high A. Okay, they do have him in high A. So Jamal Flores, they were very high on, higher than I would ever be for a corner outfielder. And then Goldberg went in this deal, the guy I just showed you that I got from the O's. And then this is another guy, Thomas White. So I drafted him in the 14th round of 2023, and every team loves this guy. My scout thinks he's a 50, so it could be a league average starter, which I guess if he develops here, he could be. OSA, about the same on him. But my concern is this movement, even if it develops, isn't good enough, and he's extreme fly ball. So I didn't see a future for him in Philadelphia. So this is one of those trades where the Marlins just put crazy value on Flores and White, and I was able to bring in this guy, Nasim Nunez, who, again, isn't unbelievable, but 70-range shortstops, they don't grow on trees, and his bat is good enough that this guy could be a utility player for me this year. You know, something happened to Adames at short, would totally be comfortable having this guy as my shortstop in the short term if I needed to. Not going to be a superstar, but really good depth piece here. He was never a top 100 prospect, but I'm really happy with bringing him in. It's good to have your system stocked with guys who are capable of playing elite shortstop. And then Kyle Mott, number 36 prospect in baseball, has not pitched out of high A, and last year really struggled there with a 5.51 ERA. Struggles with walks. He walked 5.5 guys per 9. But, man, I couldn't pass this up. A top 100 pitching prospect with an elite fastball and an elite curveball and above average stuff and movement, projected to have league average control. And I think what it is I think they viewed him as a reliever. Honestly, I think that's why they're willing to give him up. OSA thinks his changeup is good, but if their scout was like lower on this changeup, maybe thought it was a 35 pitch, that would be concerning. And I think that's probably where the difference was in how they evaluated him versus how the rest of the league does. So Kyle Mott is here. Then I traded Jordan Hicks, and the reason Hicks I signed to a 2-year deal last year, and he got hurt. He missed the whole year. And at $7.5 million, I needed to spend that money elsewhere with all the big contracts I have out there. So I traded him to the Dodgers. Got this guy, Jose Martinez, who is really just minor league pitching depth. Decent arm. Like if you're in a pinch, he can pitch out of your bullpen in the majors. And also this guy, Jose Ramos, who was very good with the bat in high A, was not as good in double A, but I like his range. He's a fringy center fielder, and he could play corners really well. So, that was more about unloading the $7.5 million that Hicks was due to make. Let's see what else happened here. So here we are in November. Let's jump to December and see what we did. So this was another big trade. We traded Ben Brown, who I see as a fringy major league piece maybe. And so we traded Ben Brown, Gavin Black, who I had as a catcher, but they see as a pitcher. And let's see, Jordy Martinez. Again, another guy that I'm not sure what all the fuss is about. And Ben Brown was the guy that they really liked. And Caden Vire was another guy that they really like. Vire was a 24th round pick of mine in 2021. But anyways, they overvalued Brown. They overvalued Vire. And they overvalued these other two. But those are the two main guys they're interested in. Oh, and Austin Elliot was in there too. Oh, this was a guy that they liked a lot too. I forgot about this dude. And understandable. If you think his control's better than this, which I don't, since he walked more guys than he struck out last year in AA. But he was very good in A-ball. But again, a reliever. But he's got 3++ pitches. So, and he's a leader, work ethic. I can see it. I can see why they valued him. OSA, not all that high on his control either, but maybe Colorado is. But we went out and we got Drew Romo, another top 100 prospect, number 64 prospect. The bat isn't amazing, but catcher ability, man. 70, leader, work ethic. We've got JT Real Muto in the last year of his deal. We needed the heir to the Real Muto throne, and I think we found it here. I mean, even if his bat sucks, like, this guy can be our catcher for the next many, many years. Really happy with that trade. And Romo he'll probably be in AAA this year, but pretty thrilled with that acquisition. So then I needed left-handed pitching. I only had really two guys on my 40-man who I saw as viable bullpen options for me, and so I only had two lefties in the bullpen, no good backups. The O's were interested in this guy, who then they cut, I guess. But they gave us Logan Allen and about $169,000 in cash. And Allen actually will pitch out of our bullpen because we had an injury. He's been good, man. Like 2023, put up 2.4 WAR, 2.9 WAR in 2024 in AAA. Not a guy that I want to depend on, but as a depth piece at AAA to come up as a lefty, because again, I don't have good lefty depth in my bullpen on my pitching staff. I tried to address it other ways, but there was just no obvious way. I got into some bidding on some guys, but it just got to areas I wasn't comfortable with. And I'll address it through a trade. Like, you can always shore up your bullpen through trade in season. Let's see. So yeah, we'll get to the Hedges signing. I don't think I made any other trades. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Okay. So those were the trades. So again, a lot of minor league stuff. So let's look at the team. You'll recognize basically this entire team. But actually, I had some injuries. So Realmuto's out for 2 weeks with a concussion. Drew Pomeranz is out for 4 months, which is a big deal because he was one of the two lefties in my bullpen. That's why Logan Allen's on the team. And Franklin Morales, who is going to be like a depth piece / long man out of my bullpen when I need to call up a fresh arm from AAA. He's out for pretty much the season. So that's a bummer. But let's go to the squad. So Hedges bumps up to the starting catcher role. We re-signed him. And Rodolfo Duran is our backup catcher. Added him to the 40-man rather than have Romo up in a backup role or even as a starter. Since he's never played above AA, I'm going to go roll with these two guys for now. Randolph back at first base. He's just been a star player for us. 2 years. He's got a 141 WRC plus. He's averaging 46 games per 46 home runs per 162 games. Yeah, he got MVP votes last year. He got the Silver Slugger. He's a star player. Bryson Stott, probably overshadowed on this team, but he's been really good as a second baseman for me. And 105 WRC plus and a good glove. I mean, he 162 game WAR pace is 4 WAR. I mean, that's getting into fringe all-star territory if he were playing every day. Now, I sit him against lefties a lot. He's not as good against lefties. Although in his 52 plate appearances last year, apparently he murdered them. Maybe I should give him another shot. That's interesting. That's funny. So Bryson Stott is back at the second baseman. Again, a really solid player, but overshadowed. Manny is back. Manny has just been really good. 7.1 WAR and 5.3 WAR for us. I mean, the trade is worth it just based off of those 2 seasons. He's going to go downhill here at some point. He's got 4 years left. still here. Willie Adames has 2 years left on his deal, $10 million and a $14 million option, which I think will probably pick up. I mean, he put up 5.3 WAR last year. Really good star shortstop for us. Juan Soto, he's here. He's on his 8-year, $298 million deal that he has an opt-out on after year 6 and year 7. I mean, he was just unbelievable last year in 70 games. He put up 4.8 WAR and a 187 WRC+. He led the league in on-base, runs, plate appearances. He's a superstar. He's arguably the best player in the league. I don't think he won MVP. No, he didn't. I think Bellinger won it maybe. But, I mean, he's here for the long haul. He's only 26. That's awesome. Pache, again, we signed him, which I already went over. 6 years, $101 million deal for Pache. He's a star center fielder. He put up 3.9 WAR in just 125 games for us last year. He's a Gold Glove caliber guy. He's well above league average at the bat. He's a star player. I don't think we need that pop-up here. Do you guys think we need that? Go away, McAfee. There we go. So Pache's here. Bryce Harper still chugging along. He's got plenty. I mean, he had a good season last year. 135 WRC+ and 4 WAR and 30 bombs. So Bryce had a nice season for us, probably, overshadowed again by just how good of a team this is now. But Bryce did his part. And then Jung-Hoo Lee, did he win Rookie of the Year? I don't think he did. I can't remember what the emblem is for Rookie of the Year. I think he finished second in Rookie of the Year voting. But 2.8 WAR, 125 WRC+. If he wasn't DHing and he could have drive up some more value in right field, he would have more WAR than that. And then we've got Nick Maton. I kept him around because he's out of options, but I like Nick Maton. He was a star in my last Orioles sim, so he's around, but he might get DFA'd if he doesn't perform. Nick Solak in here as the lefty masher infielder to relieve Bryson Stott against lefties. And then our 5th outfielder is a new guy. First name, let's just call it Hoswar Garcia. So he's a guy who's just steadily worked his way up our system and can play all 3 outfield positions. He's 23, and he's going to be our backup at all the outfield positions. So you can see that he's just been above average at every stop. And in real life, he was signed as an international free agent in 2020. So he's going to get a shot as the extra this year. And pitching-wise, Aaron Nola back after a bit of a down year last year, and he's got 6 years. He's got 5 years left on his 6-year, $195 million deal. Jose Barrios, how many years? He has 3 years left on his $118 million deal and was very good last year. Justice Sheffield, he's got 4 years left on his deal. He put up 2.8 WAR in our rotation last year. He's solid. Then former top 100 prospect Edward Segovia, fragile, but he's up. He pitched 55 innings for us last year. He put up a 4.25 ERA, 3.94 FIP. This is his chance to shine, and it's also Reggie Lawson's chance to shine. Another former top prospect, 1.2 WAR, 2 R WAR. He put up a 2.75 ERA and 78 and a third inning, 2/3 innings for us last year, primarily out of the bullpen. Mason Fox is back, our star reliever, stopper, 1.7 WAR, 3.7 R WAR last year. Aaron Bummers, our back-end lefty arm. Zach Little is one of the better relievers in baseball, and honestly, I thought about trading him this year because his value is so high, but he's here. We need him in our bullpen. Andrew Schultz is a young guy getting a chance. He's 27, but he's only pitched 4 2/3 innings, but he's been good in the minors for me for several seasons. Colton Eastman, not the sexiest ratings according to my scout, but he continues to put up solid numbers for us. I mean, his FIP was bad last year, but a good ERA. We'll see. He might get optioned at some point. Degoss, we already covered. Allen, we already covered. Beck Way is a guy who's really solid and really good, and probably it could be a rotation option. Just this lack of movement and fly ball pitcher in Citizen Bank is concerning. And let's go ahead and look at the rest of the 40-man just to show you who else could be in here. Dylan Castaneda's number 21 prospect in baseball. He'll get his first taste of AAA this year. He came up and started the last game of the season for us last year and went 5 2/3. Gunnar Myers, a guy who was up for us last year and pitched well. He pitched fine. He's a piece who will shuffle in and out when we need a fresh arm. McMahon, we already covered. He was the guy we traded for. Jack Little, Eric Miller, just really depth bullpen arms. Same with Guadez. Drew Romo, we covered. Jason Guzman is just a depth minor league infielder who's solid at all the positions. Nunez was the guy we got in a trade. We covered him. Kyle Stowers, or Stowers, an Orioles prospect in real life. This guy mashes, but he's a corner outfielder. I don't know where we have room for him, and he's 27 now. Ridgia, the guy I paid over slot for in the 5th round of 2021, he's at AA now. He really hit well there in 100 plate appearances, but we'll start him there again. He's 22 and on the 40-man. Then Johan Rojas is a minor league outfielder who seems okay. Okay, so let's look at the minor league system now and talk about some of the prospects. I have the 7th best system in baseball, headlined by Dylan Castaneda, 21st prospect in baseball. He was acquired by the real Phillies in the 30th round of the 2019 draft. So probably, I would imagine in most people's sims, he doesn't become one of the best prospects in baseball. I don't know. Maybe I'm lost, and maybe he legitimately became a really good prospect, by this time in real life. I don't think so, though. I mean, he pitched in rookie ball in 2019 in real life, and then didn't pitch in 2020. I'm not sure where he is with the real Phillies this year, to check out Fangraphs for that. But this is Castaneda. He's 23 now. He's on my 40-man. He was on the 40-man last year. And it doesn't make sense to be drafted in 2019. Oh, and then I had to add him in 20. Okay, no, that makes sense time-wise. Never mind. So, yeah, this is my scout. Thinks he's a potential 70 overall with, one of the best changeups in baseball. Good sinker, good curveball. Control doesn't look amazing. He did walk 5.1 guys per 9 at AA last year. Above average stuff. OSA is actually even higher on him. Thinks his movement is even better. Thinks his control is better, and thinks he's an 80 overall, which is just bonkers. So he pitched in AA last year, and he wasn't great, to be honest. 1.4 WAR, negative 0.1 R worth, a 5.56 ERA. Struck out 10 guys per 9. I did bring him up at the end of the year because I was resting my starters for the postseason. Didn't want them to throw in the last couple games, and he went in 5 2/3 for me. He only struck out 2. He walked like 3 guys, and he pitched fine. But anyways, I think Castaneda looks like he could be a middle of the rotation piece for me, and maybe he's got more room to grow here. But I don't think he's an ace, but I think he's a good young pitcher who I will try to get some experience in my bullpen this year as I need fresh arms, and then we'll see how Lawson goes in the rotation. We'll see how Segovia goes in the rotation. Castaneda, he could end up in my rotation this year. I'm hoping not, but I think by next year possibly, if the other guys don't lock down spots, he could be there. Next, we've got Danny Sin Miguel, the 24th best prospect in baseball. Has not played anywhere yet. He was my international free agent signing just last year. I was actually finally able to sign one of the top guys after really struggling with that. OSA thinks he's an 80. My scout thinks he's 75. He's a mediocre corner outfielder with that 40 range, but this bat is just, who cares? You can play wherever you want, sir, and we'll be good with that. If his bat develops, he's going to be a dangerous hitter for years to come. But he's at least 3 years away, right? Like he just turned 18 in November. But Danny San Miguel out of Panama looks like he could be a real good player. Kyle Mott we talked about that I got in the trade, so he'll be in AA this year. Of course, he's never pitched above A ball. I think he could make the big league club next year. He's 24, so I think he could definitely be in our plans soon. Hopefully this changeup doesn't fall off. If so, he's just a freaking glorified reliever. I don't know why I said glorified, just a reliever. But I think he could, with this fastball and curveball, be a pretty good starter for us. Again, not a number 1. I don't think the stuff, movement, control aren't good enough for that. And he is 24, so I don't know how much those will grow. But I think he could pitch in the middle of my rotation for a long time, quite possibly. Nicholas Perez I got last year in a trade because I liked his he was one of the better rated shortstop prospects, and there were no top shortstop prospects with 70 range available. Of course, we did bring in the guy I talked about earlier, whatever his name is. I'll show you in a minute, who has a 70 range at shortstop. But Nicholas Perez, probably better suited for a really good defensive second baseman, but he could be 65 is fine for a shortstop. I prefer a 70 to 80, but it's fine. He didn't really hit that great in A-ball last year, but I am going to move him up to high A. He's still just 20. He'll be 21 in September. But I mean, if you can play this good a defense and middle infield position and be a league average bat, that's pretty solid. So I started trying to stock my system with guys since Adames is a free agent in 2 years, and he's going to be like 30 or 31. So unsure what we'll do with him. So trying to give us some options is why I brought him in. Drew Romo is the last of our top 100 prospects. He's 64th. Of course, we talked about him earlier. He's our catcher of the future. That's, what else can you say? Mick Abel is still in our system, and he'll be in AAA this year. He had a solid season. He was hurt a couple times. He had a bad 2022, hurt in 2023. He really, kind of salvaged his prospect status, and his plans, me having him in our future plans last year, the good season in AA in 151 innings. He's another guy like Castaneda and like Mott, who I don't see as an ace, but I see as a good solid starter option, especially for those years that he's on a league minimum contract, could provide us with some cheap innings. So at the worst, I think he could be a real good middle reliever and maybe an average starter for us. So that's Mick Abel. Let's see. Will Karsten, 111th overall prospect, our first round pick from just last year, 2024, that I talked about in an earlier video. Hate to beat a dead horse here, but I think he's another guy who's a middle rotation arm. And he was good in A-ball. Or no, he actually wasn't that good in rookie ball, but I moved him up to A-ball, where he was solid. He had a 4.10 ERA, a 4.40 FIP. He's 23, so he's an older prospect, which I don't love. But he'll start in high A, and hopefully he'll move up to double A at some point this season. After that is another former first-round pick, I believe. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Diaz was the year before, but 4th round. Another guy who is not a stud, although OSA thinks he's a 60, but could develop into a very usable major league pitcher for us. He had a solid season between high A and double A last year. He made 29 starts. He put up about 2.5 WAR. He only made 4 starts at double A, so he'll start there again as a 24-year-old and hopefully be able to move up to triple A at some point this season. And let's see. Next, we've got Drew Gray, another recent draft pick. He's going to be in high A. He was our 2nd-round pick in 2024, and he actually looks like possibly a decent hitter, too, who could play the outfield. And he is playing as a two-way player, but I mean, this is a decent bat and a decent arm. He looks like he could be, I don't know, I think with this good of a fastball, slider curve combo, and average maybe across the board here with stuff movement and control, I think he could be an above average starter and maybe average with the bat. So we'll see how he develops. I don't love two-way guys just because sometimes they're hard to manage, but fly ball pitcher also I don't love. I actually looked to move him some this offseason, but wasn't happy, as I do with guys with low movement and fly ball with the ballpark I'm in, but I wasn't happy with the offers I was getting. So hopefully he can have a monster year and really come along in some of those areas and become better than like the average prospect he looks like. Rock Ridgia we talked about. We've got Soto, Pache, and Harper locked down for a while, so Ridgia might become trade fodder at some point. But he is only 22, and he has 3 minor league options left. So we've got some time for him, and he could always come in and be, back up at all 3 positions. And let's see, anybody else? Nunez was shortstop I was talking about a little while ago. We already highlighted. Bradley Gaijin was my first-round pick in 2022. He had a really rough season in low A. He's only 21, but he'll start there again. He's about to turn 22 in July. These tools here kind of concern me. Although if you can be average across the board here with some really, really good pitches, you might have a shot at the major leagues. But there's been some trade interest in Gaijin. I'd say he's definitely a guy that will be willing to trade. And Casey Salk, another guy who's there been some trade interest in, who I'll be willing to trade just because I don't really see a positional home for him. The 60 arm isn't ideal for third base. The 50 range is not ideal for shortstop or second. The 45 range is not ideal for the corner outfield. He's got a badass curveball apparently, but just not good enough here to pitch. I think this bat just isn't good enough to not have a solid positional home. I don't think. Maybe he'll surprise me and come along, but a guy I'm willing to trade. This is my 13th overall pick from 2021. He was a high schooler. And let's see, anybody else you want to highlight here? No, I think that, Antonio Anderson is an interesting prospect, still just 19 in rookie ball, second round pick from 2023. Tommy DeLandry could develop into a decent bat. He's hit everywhere he's been, but he'll be in Double-A. I'm not sure that I see a huge future for him. But yeah, that's the gist of the minor league system and the major prospects in it. This guy is definitely an interesting prospect, Alex Pedrone, out of the Dominican, and so I got him from the Giants. In the deal that I got Pomeranz a couple of years ago. And, he's a corner outfielder with low work ethic who has a decent ceiling, but, he's probably not going to reach it with the low work ethic. But maybe he will. So he was a guy I thought was worth taking a flyer on. And Enrique Bradfield is another interesting prospect just because he's a 70 range outfielder. So he was my first round pick from 2023. He did not hit in high A last year, but he hit well enough, I guess, that I moved him up to Double-A. He's 23, so he's not going to be a hit first guy. He's a great outfielder off the bench, or if you don't have a center fielder, he could play center field for you. But of course, we got Pache under contract for a long time. And I think that's kind of the end of the interesting guys. Gunnar Meyer's a guy who's been up and down with me. So kind of where I see this team going, the entire offense is back from last year, like we covered. The pitching, it's a little thin. I looked at a lot of different things to make trades, but I decided that it really wasn't worth the price or the contract that I would have been taking on to bring in, say, a boss lefty for the bullpen or another starter to give us more depth there. So that's why I brought in guys like Brett Degoss. It's why I brought in guys like Chris McMahon and Castaneda's here, Mick Abel's here, Gunnar Meyer, Medina. All those guys could spend time on a major league roster if we run into issues with Segovia and Lawson. And if not, I can make trades. And I'll make trades for guys who are probably on expiring deals, and I'm not going to mortgage the future. But, some of those guys like Bradley Gaijin and Drew Gray, I certainly might deal for rentals during this season to improve this pitching staff. But we've got every piece from the best offense in the league coming back. We've got Soto for the whole year. Hopefully Nola and Barrios don't start to regress too much, and hopefully our pitching staff does. I mean, if everything goes wrong with this pitching staff, it could spell trouble. But that's true of any team, obviously. But you can see things going wrong for this pitching staff with the makeup of the bullpen and the age at the top of the rotation, the inexperience at the bottom. You could see it becoming a problem for me pretty easily. But I'm going to give it a chance to work itself out, and we'll make some trades if we have to. Money-wise, I have $22 million left to spend, but of course I zero out the draft and international free agent budget, so it doesn't affect my budget for the following year. So, I have $5 million of this going to an international free agent, hopefully, and then probably about $5 million to the draft. So I have probably $12 million to play with to bring in guys at the deadline, which those will be big salaries at that point because it is prorated. So if I have that $12 million left at the deadline, I can bring in a guy making $24 million, or roughly if we're halfway through the season when I bring him in. Contract wise, Real Muto's in the last year of his deal. He's 34. He's out with concussion. The scouting report, he started to go down. The defensive rating went from 80 to 75 at catcher. The potential and current contact ratings went from 55 to 50. So is this the beginning of the end for JT? Maybe. He's 34. He's a catcher. He now has a concussion. That's concerning. But, I think, I brought in that catching prospect with Drew Romo with the intention of him taking over next year because, what Real Muto wants, 5 years, $23 million, obviously not going to happen. Now, maybe he'll have a really rough season and his asking price will come down. He's good enough defensively that I'd pay him $5 or $10 million for a couple of years to play defense with even if his bat trailed off for me. But I don't see that happening. I think he's likely to be a qualifying offer guy. because he'll probably still want that, 5 years, $100 million or something. But we'll see. I think this is probably the end of the end of a run for him here at Philly, the end of his 5-year deal, and he's been good. This contract's been fine. Didn't fall off a cliff like I was fearing he might. Everybody else is kind of under contract. I mean, Soto's got the huge deal. Nola, Harper, Barrios 3 more years. Manny 4 more. Lee 5 more. Pache 6 more years. Willie Adames 2 more years because I'll pick up that option, I'm sure. Sheffield 4 years. Solak, he's probably not back, but he's a backup guy. This is just retained salary. Hedges is a free agent. The only guys that are under contract next year are Drew Pomeranz, Austin Hedges, and JT Realmuto. Everybody else is under contract. We've got Randolph under club control for 5 more seasons. Stott under club control for 5 more seasons. Now, a lot of these guys are getting more expensive, right? But I think we can retain the core of this team for a while because we've already got a lot of them under contract. The really important guys. Now, we'll see what happens with guys like Castaneda and Segovia, what their demands become if they take on really important roles. Randolph, I don't think I'll end up extending him because, he's 27, so here's 28, 29, 30, 31. So he'll become a free agent after his age 31 season as a first baseman. Now, he's a great hitting first baseman, but I don't see the point of locking him up to a 9-year deal with 3 options, opt out in 2 option years at 27. I tried working out a deal with him. I was willing to meet his average annual value, do around $16 million, but on like a 5 to 6 year deal, just to give me some cost certainty and maybe buy out 1 more year here. But he really wasn't having it. So I'll revisit that with him maybe, but at the same time, I don't mind riding this out with him, given it's not like he's going to hit free agency at 27 and it's like, oh man, I screwed up there, because he's going to be 31. If he walks, then he walks. No big deal. So, yeah, I mean, I think this team is set up to be good for a while. I think our farm system, I don't see superstars here. Sin Miguel, I think, has potential, but he's 18, is years away. I think we have, one of these guys might pop. One might be able to take a leap to the next step. That doesn't make sense. And become a star. But really, I think we've just got solid reinforcements coming, which is good because we have stars locked up. And if we can just continue to churn in cheap pitchers, cheap backup outfielders, cheap backup infielders who are good, solid players, I think we're going to be set here for a while. And one more thing I can show you guys about the draft is, because I actually haven't looked at this, when our picks are with our compensation picks. So we've got the 33rd overall, so I guess like 3 teams didn't sign their first-round pick from last year. There's the Reds with compensation pick. Oh, and then the Blue Jays and the Cardinals. So Mariners are in supplemental round 1. There we are. So we've got the 39th pick in the second round as one of our compensations for either Clevenger or Wheeler, and then I think a 3rd or 4th rounder one too. Yeah, and then the 30th overall in the 4th. So we've got 6 picks in the first 4 rounds. So that'll help our farm system as well. And so I think that's the end of this video from here. I think I've covered everything I want to cover. Let me know what you think about the 2025 Phillies. I'm feeling pretty good about this team. I think this offense is just going to be freaking dynamite. Of course, Harper, Machado are getting up there. Realmuto's getting up there. They could always fall off, but I think behind guys like Randolph, Soto, Pache, Lee, we've got a really good offense there, even if some guys do regress. We'll see how the pitching holds up. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for following along with this sim. It's it's fun to have people following along and cheering on the Phillies. So I will talk to you guys at the next video. Bye.